So time now for our news review, once again, where we go through the papers for you. This morning I'm joined by political editor of HuffPost UK, Kevin Schofield, and broadcaster and journalist Daisy McAndrew. So welcome back to you both. So we are turning now to the Daily Telegraph. On their front page, an interview with Lucy Connolly. Inside, you get more of the details. And it's an interview carried out by their columnist Alison Pearson. And Lucy Connolly, just released from prison. She was given a 31-month sentence for a tweet after or around the time of the Southport protest. So tell us more.
And the tweet itself was deeply unpleasant. You know, let's put that out there first. It was saying burn down, you know, where the asylum seeker, and of course it was all of a misunderstanding.
Well, it was all based on misinformation that the perpetrator of what happened at Southport was an illegal immigrant, which wasn't true. He was born in Wales.
Which wasn't true, and sparked riots. I do think she has a point that her punishment was very, very tough for a tweet when some of those people who actually did riot and were violent got much lesser punishments. I think there is a fair, a fair question to be asked there about the treatment and whether it was overtly political. The fact she was using, her lawyer certainly thought it was. But the interview itself has made us both chuckle this minute. This morning, it does read as like a bit of a Mills and Boon. It's so full of this lovely young lady with a beautiful brown eyes. It's quite odd.
It's very odd, yeah. All pretence at journalistic impartiality have gone flying out the window.
Alison Pearson's been quite outspoken in her support of her, hasn't she, in the paper?
Oh, hugely, yeah. And she was involved in an incident herself, wasn't she, over a historic tweet.
Free speech and so on,
She's a big free speech proponent. But yeah, when you read it, I mean, the headline as well, I was Starmer's political prisoner. I mean, she's not Nelson Mandela. I mean, let's put it into context. I'm not entirely... Well, I don't believe that she was a political prisoner, quite frankly. And the way that she's become a cause célèbre is really quite interesting. And once again, they fall into the trap of comparing it to the Ricky Jones, the Labour councillor story which broke last week. He pled not guilty over incitement, over the slit their throats thing that he said, and was found not guilty. The difference being, obviously, Lucy Connolly pleaded guilty, presumably under advice from her legal team, clearly not expecting to get the sentence that she did.
Yes.
But that is the distinct difference between the two.
But actually, I think Lucy Connolly, is very fair in the interview. She is asked about him and asked whether he should have gone to prison and so on. And she was like, no, absolutely not. Prison shouldn't be full of anybody who says or does something in this, in this way, that particularly if they then retract it and apologise. Prison is a place for different people. And actually, I think, I have... After reading the interview, despite the flowery sort of sentences and so on, I have come out liking Lucy Connolly more than I did before, because she's taking her opportunity to talk about women in prison, which is something that I feel very strongly about, that 90% of women should not be in prison. And she's taking that up, and she says she does want to campaign on that, and having seen it from the inside, saying, these women really are, on the whole, victims. She's saying, I don't want to see women being kept away from their children, sent to prison. They don't need to be there, waste of time and money. I think that's an interesting angle to it.
Put our experience to good use in that way, then.
Well, yes, but
positive,
inevitably is going to be asked mostly about the issues of free speech and whether or not there is some kind of two-tier justice system in this country, which there are some who believe there is.
Oh, absolutely, and as I say, she has been held up. The Lucy Connolly case has become, on the right of politics, has become a massive issue. You see, Conservative and Reform politicians really highlight the case as, you say, two-tier justice. But as I say, I think when you compare it to the Ricky Jones one, I just don't think that is...
Yeah, I think it's become, and you're absolutely right, it has been sort of hijacked, but that it's become so... So if you, let's say you were centrist or on the left of politics, I think it's almost like you're not allowed to be sympathetic to Lucy Connolly, which I think is a shame and is going to take out some of the nuance of it.
Let's move on. An article in The Guardian has taken your interest. This, with the Notting Hill Carnival coming up this weekend, the use of facial recognition technology by the police. What's The Guardian saying?
It's very interesting, and I think we were just discussing it, saying this is something to sort of almost put down a marker and say, keep an eye on this for next week, for after the Notting Hill Carnival, to see how many people, because they are using facial recognition and they're using it to find criminals who shouldn't be out and about, and that, I think we would probably most agree, is a good thing. Of course, there are people, experts in the area, who say that it's biased towards. It can't often differentiate between different ethnicities and so on, so that it will pick up particularly more black men who will be wrongly accused of being somebody who they aren't, because the AI and the algorithms aren't sort of, up to standard yet. Metropolitan Police is denying that. But I think if next week we hear that there have been a lot of cases of people who've been wrongly grabbed off the street because of facial recognition and accused of being criminal when they're not, this could be a story to watch.
But the Met Police adamant that they are just trying to protect the public and they feel that this is the best way of doing it.
Yeah, I mean, that is the argument that they will make, and I'm sure in many cases it will work perfectly well and be a very useful tool in fighting crime. However, if it leads to false positives, basically, people being pulled by the police when they've done nothing wrong, then I think that's got to be something we should
and of course can lead to problems on the street. If that person is drunk and reacts badly, and so it can be very dangerous.
Indeed. Well, as you say, one to watch, and that carnival going on this weekend, so we'll see what happens. Let's take us to the Telegraph next, Daisy. There's a story here about pasta grannies.
About pasta grannies, and this caught my eye because I have just come back from the heel of Italy, Puglia, which is where these pasta grannies, homemade, hand make their pasta. It's particularly in a place called Bari, and there's been a long tradition that they don't have to follow the sort of health and safety guidelines that you would from a factory and so on, because it's such a tradition. It's been going on since the 12th century that these pasta nonnas, as they're called, have been making the orecchiette. But it's become such a tourist thing, it's become such a boom market that they've been accused of going to buying off the shelf pasta, repackaging it, pretending that they've made it on the street, and it's become this big thing. And this week they got so angry about being accused of this that they barricaded the street. So you had these sort of demonstrating pasta grannies who got their trestle tables that they usually use, you can see them there, and barricaded the streets so the tourists couldn't get on, and the local councillors are saying, no, some of them have been naughty and breaking the rules. It really made me giggle that the idea
Fantastic, a great, strong...
demonstrating. And if you see them,
pasta protests.
Some of them do look about 102, and they are churning out the ear-shaped pasta like there's no tomorrow.
It's making me very hungry, I've got to say.
It is making me hungry as well, so perhaps we should move on. And now I know how to say
orecchiette.
Orecchiette. I haven't learnt that. I'm going to have to practice, aren't I?
It is. Let's
move on from talking about eating lots of pasta to The Sun, and they are focusing on the so-called fat jabs. And Serena Williams has actually given this story an extra bit of impetus, hasn't she, by talking about her own experience?
Yeah, exactly. So she's lost a lot of weight thanks to these jabs. But the Sun story here says that Britain has gone fat jab crazy. Sales of Wegovy, which is one of the manufacturers, has soared by more than 2,000% in the past month. Now, there is a reason, or one of the main reasons for this, is that Mounjaro, which is a rival jab, the price has been hiked by 170%, almost at the behest of Donald Trump, who said it was unfair, basically, that these medicines were being sold more cheaply abroad. However, Wegovy are the main beneficiaries of this because they're maintaining their prices at the current level, so people are stocking up on those jabs, and they appear to be working incredibly well.
And it's amazing to think that Serena Williams, somebody who's renowned for being an athlete, for being disciplined and so on. And I do think there has been a stigma about the fat jabs and people saying, oh, it's lazy. And I think it's very interesting that I'm sure she's being paid an absolute fortune. We probably won't know. But still, an athlete like her coming on board on these, I think, does slightly change the conversation around it. But also, it's not altogether. We all know that when we come back from holiday, as I've just done, you tend to have put on rather a lot of weight, and you're like, aha, now's the time to order some jabs to help me. So I think this is probably that typical. Or you always see the Weight Watchers adverts at this time of year or beginning of September saying, time to get back in shape. So I'm sure there will be a big uptake in people.
But it's almost like they don't need the positive publicity of Serena Williams, because at the moment that lots of people are talking about positive experiences that they're having. I guess.
Absolutely, and exactly, people are, as you say, there's there is no stigma now. People are happily talking about it and the benefits that they've experienced from it. And things like Weight Watchers must be taking an absolute hammering because people no longer have to worry so much about that those types of schemes because these jabs are so effective.
And some of the economic implications of this, I've done some business, I've done some work on this, like aviation is going to save a lot of money because their passengers are going to be thinner and they won't use so much fuel.
On that note, we must leave it extraordinary. Thanks so much.
Hear that whistle and that crunch.